This week on Chief Concerns, we're still diving into the off season, but right before the show, we had some breaking news for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, one, the Arrowhead Stadium has a new name. It's the GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. A lot of Chief fans are pretty pissed off about this, saying that it's always going to be Arrowhead Stadium, and people are still going to call it Arrowhead Stadium. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to pronounce it GEHA or GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, but
so I'm assuming they got a pretty big endorsement from him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So have you looked up the company? What is that? What is the?
It's government employees. I forgot what the HA is, but it's government employees something. Yeah, that's the company.
Oh wow.
Upon initial thought, what do you guys think? Because you guys are always, everyone's gonna think of it as Arrowhead Stadium forever, but just, is that kind of weird to you?
I'm sure people still reference it as Arrowhead Stadium, but just having the name, like the AT&T, they always, these different companies get behind it and kind of put their names on it. But, growing up there, it would always be, Arrowhead Stadiums to the ones that was there before the name got there. To them. That's just right now, that's a mouthful. GEHA Field. You going to the GA? Nah, the Arrowhead Stadium, right? So to me, that it just makes more sense, just saying it that way.
Yeah, that's just going to be an acronym that most people won't use. Yep. But for the most part, it's Arrowhead. I would understand it more if it went to the direction of what, like the Cleveland Indians or the Cleveland or the Washington previous Redskins were. And if people were having the complaint as to Arrowhead and Native Americans and whatever confusion that we have in that scenario, but if it's just an endorsement and we're getting money, this huge check from this company, GEHA, Hilaire, just to put on the stadium, then I'm all right with it. So I have no arguments. 10 out of 10 fans are going to call it Arrowhead Stadium, whether the acronyms are in front of it or not. And it's just like, even for years to come, I would say for years to come. But as far as even with the Redskins, I wouldn't say Redskins, but the Washington football team. And so I'm a product of it too. There's still going to be people that continue to say Redskins because they're so fixated on it. That's all they know. And for the longest, we're still going to be Arrowhead until, if whatever it is, GEHH or takes over, it's going to be Arrowhead for us that know it as Arrowhead.
Well, I tell you what, I'm reading here. It says GEH and the Chiefs said they are both committed to ensuring Arrowhead Stadium remains the identity of the stadium. So the stadium in itself, I guess they still going to keep referencing it as, Arrowhead Stadium, and it's just GEHA Field is what it would be. So I guess it's a nice symbiotic relationship there. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, hey, we taken away from fully, like I said, just the history of it would be a disservice, I guess, to the fans and whatnot. So. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we had this conversation a few weeks ago. I was talking to people. And I know it's really deep conversation and talking about being called the Chiefs and doing the chop and whatnot. And how many people feel like it's disrespectful. And so I think it's important, to understand, people's, pain maybe behind it, or maybe, some awareness what people may think from just, that community, to have at least have a conversation, have an honest, open conversation about these things that you could work together, without it, thinking it is something that is derogatory. So, I think when people have better conversations like that, sitting down and actually having a real heart-to-heart felt conversation, you get things done more, so that was something that I especially with Washington kind of going their route, the next thing was also too, well, what are you going to do with Kansas City, right? And like you said, Cleveland and all these other places that, take on these names. So I don't know. That was just something I brought up. You have any input on that as far as, what do you think?
I don't. It's just there's so much of what we've grown up to understand and learn in history, whether right or wrong, is being rewritten. From people tearing down monumental statues or buildings or signs and flags, and I understand the severity of the nature of those, whether it's flags, statues, whatever, or the history behind it. I understand it, and some of the meaning that it brings to society as a whole, and for where we've come and to where we are. I do get it. I don't know. As you said, like if there's a conversation that's had between, Arrowhead and the community of Native Americans, to where it's been deemed that it's not offensive to their community as a history and as a people, then there's no reason for us to change what we see as a team and its representative, especially with Arrowhead and being called the Chiefs. I see my opinion. It is more as a sign of respect to where your culture is represented from a professional sport. There's not demeaning to have Chiefs Arrowhead, my opinion, Chiefs and Arrowhead to be exploited to bring negativity to a particular culture. So I don't see it that way, and I've never viewed it that way. To be honest, I've never seen or viewed the Washington team that way. But understanding, like when you say Redskins, that's kind of like almost saying black people or white people. So I get that part, and I can see like the insensitive take behind that. But just to say, we're at Arrowhead Stadium. So it's like, okay, we're representing your culture with a professional team, and hopefully in a positive way. And so there's no way, no how that we bring any sort of negativity toward the community that was basically here before anybody else was. So I see the positiveness that comes with it. So I don't, but again, I don't know anything about the GEHA company. I know you guys are pretty much giving me a little meaning, little story behind it, but yeah, I know nothing about them, what they do, where they started, where they're from, or anything. I mean, obviously they got a crap ton of money if you're going to put your name on the stadium. So yeah, as far as like being anything negative towards the Native American culture, I just don't see it with what the Chiefs bring to the table.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think as long as things are done with respect, and and you want to honor people for it. We can have like I said, a heartfelt conversation of grace and love toward one another. I think we just need to have more conversations like that, here as a whole, just to put the entire United States back together. You know what I mean? Just too much polarization right now, and people in two different camps of stuff, man. And I think we all have a little bit more in common than we do apart. And I think, sometimes we get to the points on our fringe of things that we are apart from, and we should be starting where we are together as opposed to where we are apart. You know what I mean? I think it's just the wrong way to go. So, I think it's all had to be respectful. So, yeah. I didn't mean to go off topic, but it just, it was just one thing that, we was talking about that, just kind of was something I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked me a question.
I'm with both of you guys. I think like the Redskins versus the Chiefs. I think one, obviously, as you said, Ed, like, it's like saying like the Caucasians, like the Washington Caucasians, the Washington Black people. It's like that. Whereas, like in a similar image is with it in hockey, you got the Chicago Blackhawks, very close to that, what that Redskin image is, but it's a name of a tribe they're calling it. So it's totally different.
Right.
And then with the Chiefs, it's like what you say, Chiefs, it's like, it's not, we're not like, it's not a color of a specific Indian tribe. It's a, it's a
head of the tribe.
Yeah, status and high regard, so it's the highest regard you could make. Yep. So, you could, the generals or the presidents or, whatever. So.
Yeah. And then one thing, a lot, because I'm in the DC area, so I got a lot of these Redskin fans, or a lot of people were like, well, I'm still going to call them the Redskins. They point to a Washington Post article, and I think also, what's his name? Dan Snyder also pointed to this article. A couple of years ago, the Washington Post did a poll on with the Native Americans, and they said they were fine with the Redskin tribe, or the Redskins as the name. But, at the end of the day, it's paying respect to like our past. That's the Chief. Sure. Like my girlfriend's high school in Connecticut, they were called the Tomahawks. There's chances, I think they might be changing the name from the Tomahawks. But she was saying, she goes, that's a weapon, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of teams out there that have weapons, that it's a tomahawk, But there's also a tomahawk trail in that Connecticut, the Northeast area. So it's also, the tomahawk is, for the region, that's also an important thing for the region. It's a historical thing. So I mean, there's a lot of things getting into that.
Yeah, you can dive so deep into so many things and create some sort of havoc with a lot of stuff. I don't want to say we shouldn't pay attention, because you definitely don't want to offend someone, when yet you think that in all aspects you're paying, tribute to something or someone by naming your team after them. But if you could, like I said, you dive too deep into something, you pull out these, this dirty laundry, is, secrets out of the closet. Okay. We didn't see this. We didn't know this. We didn't know the story behind this. But that's definitely not what we were going for. So yeah, some of that stuff can be seen that way, like tomahawk, like you're just saying, and that nobody ever saw it that way.
Right.
But that's just how some people who dug too deep is like, okay, yeah, you guys are kind of racist. Don't want to say the word, but yeah. But doing that, so no, but that's not the meaning they were going for.
And the reality is, you're not going to make everybody happy, No. So if somebody feels like, some people might take it where it's overly sensitive. Other people's like, hey, maybe not sensitive enough. It's finding the happy median. You know what I'm saying? Where, you like, look, we can get to a place, of, like I said, of understanding. And I think that's what it is that we all should, try to do. So that's good.
Right. And on the Chief aspect, that this past offseason, you guys remember this, but they, the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, right now the name's not, no one's saying, oh, they need to change the name, but they, they're being proactive with it. They banned the Native American head garbs at games, so fans can't wear that anymore. And like the war paint, the face paint, they don't want fans wearing that.
Oh, really?
They're proactive with it. They're trying to get ahead of the curve on that, saying, what, like, we're not going to allow that. Because,
like cultural appropriation, you're saying.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
That was kind of a big thing. A lot of fans were upset by that, but then some fans like, no, you know what? Like, I totally.
And again, like, what's crazy? Like, as kids, the number one thing we always played, cops and Indians.
Cowboys and Indians.
Cowboys and Indians, yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you play in the Indian, you never saw yourself as being the bad person, whether you're getting arrested or you're fighting the cops or whatever. It was always that's just what we knew as kids, and we never, associated anything negative with that. That was just what we, that's what we did for fun. Mm-hmm. We go out there and make fake bows and arrows and go around and, making the noises, like, but we never did any of that out of disrespect towards the culture. But in the end, it's like, were we paying tribute to it? I don't know. I felt like I always wanted to win. So if I'm trying to win, even if I'm the Indian, yes, I think I'm paying tribute to a culture, because I want to see them succeed at all costs. And even towards the Cowboys. Am I wrong for being a Cowboy? No.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it's like, that's what you do as kids. And now I can see it as an adult, you know, because people can say, you know, you hear it nowadays, like, why you talk like that? You ain't black. Like, and it's you can be the white dude, but why is there somebody a question? Why you talking like that? You're not from the hood, like, but that's silly, you know. And that dude could grow up right there in the projects just like anybody else. Mm-hmm. And that's just that's his dialect. That's just how he talks.
Right.
But that's not how people view that, you know. And some people gonna look at it as like, you know, you being disrespectful, you're being rude. So no, like. Man, I grew up right next door to you.
Yeah. And the question would be like, oh, what is black? You know, what is white? How does it, you know, how does that mean? What does that mean? You know,
and I hate that term.
Yeah,
because
that's crazy.
I got friends that ask me, why you talk white? Like, dude, I'm educated.
Right.
That's what I talk like. I talk like I'm educated. I don't know what the meaning of talking black and white is.
Right.
You know, I talk like I'm an educated man. So just because I don't sound like I come from the streets or whatever, it's like, you know, don't sit there and try to label me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's wrong anytime we try to use things, you know, synonymous with a particular, you know, culture or person. That's the wrong part of it. You know, that's the you know, when you try to make the blanket statement and saying only these people in this corner and they only do this and that's absolutely wrong. You know, so that's everything about what stereotypes and all that is about. So yeah, yeah.
My similarity story to that is since I'm half Cuban and half Persian, my dad's a full on Iranian, has a big accent. And I was in high school, like I remember when like some of my friends came over for the first time, like they heard my dad and like they didn't really understand him, and then they came to me like, dude, like I thought you were white, man. I was like, all right, that's my version of that. So. And one thing I'll say for the Chief fans who are upset by this name change of the stadium, not name change really, but you know, the Chief fans have been kind of fortunate. Most stadiums around the NFL and in general have the endorsement, like Mile High was just Mile High, but now it's was it Invesco? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're fortunate that this is happening in 2021, whereas it's been happening for years. So
yeah.
So, well, is that the reason why the name is? I had to look more into it. I had to read into it. That's the reason why everything was changed that way, or is it just like you said? Is it just an investment, like company coming in and saying, you know, they want to do that and put their name on it? And I don't know. It's a partnership. Yeah. So I don't know. I had to look into it more.
They definitely paid up handsomely. At least I think so. I don't know the numbers behind it.
Oh yeah, there's got to be some big dollars.
Yeah.
So the other thing so there was that, and then right before we got on the show, I saw that Anthony Sherman, who's a pending free agent, is going to be retiring. He had a video. It was actually kind of a cool way of retiring. There's a little iPhone video, it seemed, of him saying, "Hey guys, I'm retiring," and he had like this like suit on, looked like a pilot suit. And then the next shot was him getting in a helicopter and then taking off because he has his pilot license, I believe, or helicopter license. So. Just a quick thoughts on him. Where do you see him as kind of ranking in Chiefs fullback history? Some were saying that he's on par with Tony Richardson. I don't agree, just because that's who I grew up watching. But that's where some people are going with it.
He's definitely had it. To me, he's had a good career. I won't knock it. His importance to the team has been pretty good. I don't know if it's as significant as what T. Rich did, mainly because T. Rich was a catalyst behind some great running backs, and he punted, you know, created some holes for some of the greats that we've had. So, you know, along with Marcus Allen, up to Priest, Larry Johnson. So he's had T. Rich has had a long track record of paving the way for some of the greats. You know, Sherman's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl with a great team. How valuable his role was to the Chiefs, I obviously you don't want to diminish anything that any player has done to help a team to achieve success, and especially to have had as long of a career as he's had. When a fullback is not utilized as much, especially with teams throwing so much, and so it's like, okay, this position is basically not even needed unless it's short yardage. And even in short yardage, you still see teams doing spread offense. So, I mean, like I said, I don't want to take much from him because he's had a great career. Big fan of his. I love watching him and his family on Instagram. And even in retirement, I'd like to say congrats on a great career. I'm thankful for what you've done for the Chiefs, but you know, T. Rich and he are like kind of a different category. You know, if you say, I know it's fullback, but the roles that T. Rich paved were like some Hall of Fame guys. And I was Sherman with
he was with Charles.
Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jamal has put up some great numbers. He's a top Chiefs running back. But again, like I said, T. Rich has got a long track record.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I mean, you go over the things that T. Rich has done. I mean, Donnell Bennett, Kimball, Anders, I mean, Marcus, I mean, and Priest, Larry, I mean, Blaylock, not to mention T. Rich was a great running back in himself. I mean, you know, the time he was hurt, T. Rich was coming in and towed that rock, man. So he was a great runner himself. And so sometimes when the guys, he accepted that role of being a fullback. And I'll just tell you, because you had to think, like, in the role that T. Rich played in our offense, he played a significant role. I say he had to play at let's just say at 100% of the snaps. T. Rich was probably in
a lot,
85 of them. Yeah, 85%. So that was just what we were doing offensively. And
that's why I said what's different now is like fullback is almost not used now.
It's almost non-existent. So you're right. And sometimes it would throw me out when I would see Sherman come in. And look, he and the thing is, when he came in, he did a great job. He made his presence felt. And hats off to him. You know, I've always enjoyed watching him play, man, because he came in with you know, with a lot of you know, tenacity, you know, a lot of toughness to him. It's, you know, kind of a throwback. And I love seeing him come out there and just play, because it was just like, here we go with the fullback. Here he comes. And he get, you know, tough yards to get out, you know, on the flat, catching some balls. And so I enjoy watching him play. And so same thing, you know, hats off to him. Good for him, you know, for retiring, and hopefully he's relatively healthy right now, and much success to him right now in his new endeavors in life, what he's going to be, you know, moving to. And I know it's, you know, those transitions are a little tough, but if you do it on your own, you know, on your terms, in a sense, and he sound like he's doing it like, I'm gonna retire. Hey man, you know, then good for him. You know, I have nothing but love for that. But yeah, two totally different roles as fullbacks. You know, just two totally different things as far as what they were asking these guys to do. T. Rich and Sherman, two totally different things.
Yeah, just a different time in the NFL for fullbacks. I mean, a lot of teams don't even have fullbacks on the rosters anymore. So I mean,
right,
of those kind of guys. And also just a blast in the past. Sherman was acquired by the Chiefs in 2013 for Javier Arenas. I don't know if you guys remember the cornerback from Alabama.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Jeez. Yeah. Wow.
Throwback. We're 2 weeks away, about 2 weeks away from free agency, the beginning of it. And you know, I guess being on the show with you guys, I've kind of like, you know, I've always, you know, always been on the player side as a fan, right? And a lot of guys are team first, but I fall in love with players, you know, my affinity for you guys. So, but now I've become closer with you guys. I've kind of even more so have been like with the players and stuff. And last night I saw a tweet. It was talking about next week that they're saying the NFL insiders are predicting that next week is going to be a massacre of cap.
I saw that.
And like seeing that word massacre with the players, you know, you guys always say it's a business, but still at the end of the day, I mean, these are people, you know? And so like, just to say, oh, it's going to be a massacre of cap casualties, you know, like as players, how hard is it like the weeks before leading up to free agency? And I know you guys are off vacation and stuff, but are you guys like kind of fearing like, man, am I gonna be one of the cap casualties, or am I safe? I mean, the weeks leading up to free agency, what is that like for a player?
Man, you never want to have it's always best to walk out on your own. You don't want to ever have to get that phone call or that tap on the shoulder. to say, hey, we need you to come talk to the coach or the GM. You would always love to be in a position of what a lot of the quarterbacks are doing, or what, Sherman is doing as far as leaving on your own, retiring on your own. But we always, when we're playing this game, we seem to think that we can play forever. That call is never going to come, and we're going to be able to make our own call as to when we walk away from this game. So when mine came, I was completely shocked because I thought I'd stay in Kansas City forever. But I was also not as shocked because I knew I was at the end. I couldn't perform the way I used to perform, especially after I had surgery on my back. So I kind of knew it was happening again because my agent had warned me and told me of this circumstances. But you don't ever want to have to be in that situation to have them end your career when yet you can be in the position of a lot of these other guys to where you can just say, hey, I've had a great career here. It's time for me to hang them up.
So give me the question again so I get a little bit more context on it.
Right. So last week or a couple days ago, NFL insiders were saying that next week there's going to be a massacre of cap casualties. You'll see a lot of guys being cut at levels we have never seen before. Now, as former players, the weeks leading up to free agency, what are those? How were those weeks to you? Were you kind of nervous that you would be one of those cap casualties, or were you always like you were set that you were going to be back the next season?
No, not really. The thing is, and I think you don't really, you have to play in a way that you make it hard for them to cut you, to become a casualty. And so, if you focus on those things all the time, man, it's not good to constantly look over your shoulders. I mean, you got to have some type of comfort until it comes, right? And so when you're playing, and it's different for guys, like I said, you become expendable when you make more money. I wasn't necessarily nervous or worried about it as much. So you just kind of get ready. You just kind of keep preparing yourself, right? And so, it's a business. So you got to understand that. I think in your mind and back of your head, it's always there, but you don't worry about it. You just constantly keep getting ready, Because the thing is this, the reality is if that team decides to cut you, right, and they don't sign you again, there's 31 other teams out there, right? So you can't sulk. You don't have time. Like, you got to be consistently ready to go play somewhere else. I mean, that's just how it works. And I remember, like, I think I had like another year on my contract when I got released from the Chiefs. And it was kind of a cap casualty in a sense. And I had, other teams I could have went to go play. And so it was all about that. Okay, guess what? Hey, the Chiefs, now guess what? Another team is on the phone. So everybody's in contact with each other. As soon as, I got released from the Chiefs, I had 4 other teams call my agent, contact me, like, hey, we heard Jason. Hey, what's going on? Can we bring him in? And so it's always that conversation to be ready. So what they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So, guys could always use you. Teams could always use you. I mean, if you've done what you're supposed to do, then, teams will, make a phone call. So I wouldn't say be nervous about that as much. It's just the nature of the beast, man. That's what we play with. That's what we do. But yeah, I wouldn't say worry about it as much, man. You just got to be ready. Be ready to play football.
We got our Chiefs Kingdom Concerns segment. And tonight we have Aaron Bell calling in. He's a huge fan of the show, and he also has his own podcast. And yeah, he's going to come on right now to ask you guys a few questions. He's a big fan of you two. Yeah. Aaron.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, buddy? You're here with Eric Warfield and Jason Dunn, bud.
What's up, Aaron? Boys? What's going on, man?
Not much. Getting ready to do my show here.
Okay. You got the camera on, Aaron?
Oh, I might not. I'm on my phone. Let me turn it on. There we go.
There you go. All right. Hey, you know what's crazy? Like when he said Aaron Bell, that's one of my best friends in Nebraska. So I'm like, I know he's not calling in.
There's a lot of me around everywhere. I always get asked if I'm related to Mike and Mark Bell. So
you born and raised in KC?
Well, I'm actually living in Cheney, Kansas, which is close to Wichita. I was born and raised in Wichita. So
gotcha.
But yeah, I've been a lifelong Chiefs fan. ever since I can remember.
I see you got the Royals banner as your page, your cover. Yeah.
I'm ready I'm happy spring training started, but I'm ready for regular season.
Yeah, I told some friends that so my time in Kansas City, the Royals were bad. Like, they were real bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
Seasons.
I remember as a player when I was playing for the Chiefs, they gave me a skybox and told me to invite whomever I wanted, free food, free alcohol, everything, and just come out, just feel like they wanted people out there.
Yeah.
And we went, and nobody watched the game. I don't know who the team we were playing, but we just got spanked. And I was like, man, in my lifetime, I would love to see the Royals win a championship. And they ended up winning before the Chiefs did.
Well, I never thought that in the same decade I would see the Royals and the Chiefs win a national, a championship. Right. And what do you know? It's one of the greatest decades ever.
Yeah. That is true.
So, Aaron, I know you have a show coming up here in a little bit, so I wanted to get you on to ask your questions to the guys. I don't know if you have any specific questions you want to ask Eric and JD.
I want to ask JD. I know you could be biased about this because I know you played for Tony Gonzalez for years.
Yeah.
But between him and Travis Kelce, what are the comparisons and what are the differences that you see in those two guys?
I tell you what, that's a good question. I was just thinking about this the other day, actually. So I'll say this. What I see comparing the two, Tony was a little bit more physical in running his routes, kind of bodying up linebackers and safeties. Travis has a little bit more finesse in his hips.
Yeah.
And so not taking it because Tony's so athletic, and we were just kind of watching, when they was showing some of his birthday clips, some of the video. Tony was so good at catching the football with his hands. He's probably one of the better guys I see just be able to just pluck the football out of the air. And Tony was double teamed a lot. So what I see from Travis, he's elusive. And so he never let you get a full hit on him. And so every time I see him, it's almost like he's like the rubber band man, because it's like you hit his legs, he spins out, and he's still kind of running. So he has finesse in his route running. And he does a great job of just finding the window and getting open. And so in our offense, where ours was a lot of timing, with the ball will come out of your hand, you would already expect the ball to be there because that's just how we practice. And so when Trent was throwing the ball to Tony, even if he was draped by 2 or 3 guys, Tony just had a knack of just finding the ball and just honing in on it. So that's one thing I know he didn't do. He didn't really drop a whole lot of balls because he just worked on it constantly. He just constantly worked on his hands and just catching and plucking the ball. Now, he hated catching the football over his shoulder. I'm gonna tell on him a little bit, because I used to always ask him, man, why are you always catching it, fronting it up? He said, man, it's just an easier ball for me to catch just doing it that way. He said, I hate catching over the shoulder because he just feel like he wasn't able to track it. Not that he didn't, but he hated doing it though. He loved catching it like a basketball. Let me put it that way. So that's how he was playing. And then Travis, like I said, his route running, he's a little bit more kind of elusive, kind of getting around guys. And before you know it, he'll get past the linebacker and he'll just slip back around him and just kind of be there. So that was kind of like the differences that I see where Tony was kind of a little bit more physical, Travis a little bit more elusive. And that's kind of what you had, man. It's kind of a different era now, So.
Yeah, I mean, I love that move that Kelce does when he catches it right in the middle of the field, and then you think he's going to go to the right, and he jukes to the left. I mean,
right.
Right. I never really saw that from Gonzalez, but I know Gonzalez was more of a head first, I'm going to plow into you guy.
Yeah. And that was his thing. His start and stop. And Tony could stop on a dime, catch a football, and run a route in and out. The route was beautiful. But yeah, Travis, by catching that and just flipping his hips and running, yeah, it's hard to see from a tight end. Not most tight ends can do what he can do as far as being it that way.
Yeah. All right, Eric, I want to ask you because I know you guys played against Peyton Manning for years. And I remember that playoff game. I can't remember if it was 2003 or 2004 when you guys lost 38-33. How hard was it to cover those receivers and those tight ends when Peyton Manning was on that field?
So the thing with me and Marvin Harrison, if I had to cover anybody else with that team, I was good. Anybody. Marvin always lined up to my side, to the left side. So he's a smaller guy. If I had trouble with any type of receiver, it was small receivers, just because, as Jason said, they're wiggle, and so they're more elusive. Mm-hmm. I'm a big corner. I had to get hands on you in order to play good defense. And there's times where I can play off coverage and play it well. For the most part, I'm a press corner. There's a route tree, 0 through 9.
Yeah.
Those routes don't change no matter what. Marvin has a way of running routes within that route tree that aren't like any other receiver. He breaks certain routes off at different yardages. And so he and Peyton just they just had a chemistry to where Peyton's gonna know where he knows where he's gonna be at all times. It made it difficult for you because you're sitting there thinking like, okay, this route is supposed to be broken off at either 7 yards, 12 yards, 2 or 3 yards. He's not doing that. So now you're confused. And then when Peyton's looking, he's just sitting there patting that thing, and all of a sudden it's on the money. So it's always difficult. Yet Marvin's fast, great hands, and had a tremendous career. And if there was any game I could take back, that would be the one. I told these guys before that going into that game, I sat out the game before that because it was against Chicago Bears, and it was like that game that they didn't need the starters. Plus, I ended up having back surgery right after the Colts game. So technically, I shouldn't have played that game, but they took me. I took the week off against the Bears. We had to bye a week. They figured I had enough time for healing, and I went out there and did what I could. So, and again, not to put anybody on blast, but I just watched that game a month and a half ago. The plays, I didn't give up any big plays or touchdowns. So for whatever flack that I took on those games, it is what it is, but I'm not proud of what happened in the game. I think that's the first game in it, probably the only game in NFL history that there wasn't a punt.
Not a punt, yeah. In the playoff, yeah, right?
Yeah. Nobody wants to be a part of that. So that's the embarrassing part. But yeah, they had a tremendous career at the things that they did together.
Yeah. All right, I need to ask one last question before I have to go. This is for both of you guys. Both of you guys can answer this. Do you think this Chiefs team now is the next dynasty of the NFL?
I think so. If we keep the offense together, we keep the offensive line healthy, and take my hat off to Tampa Bay and what they did, scheme-wise, game-wise. They did what they need to do to win the game. I feel like if we had a healthy offensive line, I also feel like if things hadn't happened as far as off-the-field incidents, and if we had at least a couple of days practice in Tampa, things would have turned out way different. But that's just my opinion. But with the healthy offensive line, I think that we can build enough defensively to keep this team as good as we want to be.
I tell you what, dynasty with the team where it is right now, I still think we need maybe one or two pieces. And this is, look, I'm not taking away from this team. It's a great team. And I agree with E on it as far as, some of the things leading up to the game. And of course, people, injuries definitely hurt. I think, as far as, saying dynasty, you get like maybe one or two more guys, all right? And, maybe, another guy that's going to be able to create more pressure on the quarterback. And even, having offensive line, to me, they struggled all year. Seriously, they did. They struggled all year. So I think you can develop these young guys, and I think you need to put a little bit more time and more investment in some of these guys that have the ability because they're going to have to do it coming in this next year. We'll kind of get in, just kind of talking about it. But I think you may need like one or two pieces, but it does have the potential to be a dynasty. I still think you need just a little bit more.
What I don't want, though, JD, Aaron, and Marcus, is us to come out and be the Seattle Seahawks. Go out, you got this great team, and go win a Super Bowl with this awesome quarterback. And granted, Russell Wilson's had a great career. He's proven to be easily a top 5 quarterback, and I think that we have a top 5 quarterback in our quarterback. Actually, I think he's the best one so far. But again, like, they rode that wave, Russell. Yet on the other side, people didn't look how good that defense was for Seattle. And I know for a lot of the season and predominantly what we accomplished in the Super Bowl the year before was mainly our offense. So yeah, we do need to, build up on the defense and solidify that offensive line. But I just don't want anybody to think that we're following the footsteps of what the Seahawks did, because I think we're a better team than that. Just adding a few more pieces, I think we have what it takes to get us back to the Super Bowl and hopefully to win another one.
I agree. Hey, thanks guys for having me on. I got to get started with my show, and I loved watching you guys, and it's glad to meet you guys over Zoom.
Absolutely,
Sweet.
man. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it, brother.
Let us know when you want us to come on your show.
Absolutely.
All
Love
right.
to.
Thanks, guys.
You ain't got no questions, Joe?
Oh,
You, about the Chiefs.
man. I give them good luck for the next 3 years, because after that, they're going to be praying that they can keep people on the team.
Oh.
I mean, that contract is huge, man. I'm sorry. And you can't sign everybody.
No.
I mean, luckily
right.
the cap goes up every year. I think they have ways of re-signing, restructuring contracts where he can still get paid the money and we can sign other people. So I'm pretty sure they knew what they were doing before they did it. So.
Well, this is a monkey wrench though, man, having it, the cap at 180. I mean, we talk about it, man, that's significant. And so you had to probably do it, like restructure and put everything on the back end of it. You know what I mean? To get guys in to get paid. Yeah, for sure.
But see, people keep thinking about, they keep saying like, yeah, the salary cap going up. Yeah, it's going up for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, other teams have more to offer as well to better players. So
yeah.
But that's irrelevant. We don't have to sign big name guys. The number one guy we got to make sure we got is Patrick Mahomes.
But everybody else is. That's one player. Yeah, I know he's the quarterback, but when you got several other top players on your team, that's a huge difference.
Tyreek Hill has a decent contract. He's locked in for some years. Travis is locked in for some years. Basically, I think that's the catalyst right there, what we need. Keep those guys happy. We good to go.
Yeah,
that's why depth is important. I'm sorry. That's why depth is important. When those guys get hurt, it's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
They have no depth,
Yeah.
I
tell you, this is why this man, when you're talking about, the draft and finding the guy, because that's what you pay all these scouts to do, man. You better find a guy, find a diamond in the rough who's going to be able to come in and at least, show up, hold it down until, if just in case something happened, a guy gets hurt. So, I mean, there's guys out there, man. You just got to make sure the scouting is doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
Well, and they said during Veach's press conference this past week, he said with the whole what happened this past year with COVID, it made it harder for them to actually scout the smaller schools and stuff. And he's pretty good at finding the small school gems and stuff. And he said it made his life harder as far as going to find that guy this year.
Yeah,
man, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But as far as the contract goes, what do you guys think about the whole fact that, we signed him in 2020 and the salary cap's only going to continue to get higher and higher, and you're going to see bigger contracts. I mean, you may see guys come close to Mahomes' contract. I mean, you guys think, that could, obviously maybe not to the extent of Mahomes' contract, but like getting up in that range as we continue to go with these next 10 years.
It's going to happen, because it's just like basketball. Like, I feel like certain athletes they deserve what they're getting. I mean, whether you're getting $40, $50 million a year for what you've accomplished, what you've done for the team, you deserve that. And then all of a sudden you see another person I'll say like, Chris Paul was making just as much as Steph Curry. I don't see Chris Paul on Steph Curry's level at all. Yet he's making the same amount of money or more, or he was at the same amount of money. And then all of a sudden, Bradley Beal is signing for max contracts and all these others. So, but that's just how the game goes. But it falls into what the team has as far as cap issue, as far as what they have is spending wise. So there's ways to make things work. I never thought I'd see Anthony Davis and LeBron James playing on the same team, and yet you have that with the NBA. Then you got three guys like KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all on the same team. The front office is finding a way to make it work. And I think that with the NFL is going to be the same way. Now, as far as like when I don't know who it was that said that next week's going to be a big massacre in the free agency market. I believe that also, but I know that there's going to be ways that teams are going to manage it to where it's going to work out perfect for their team. So
I tell you what, that word deserve, big word right there, man. Deserve. Because I'm looking at, if I'm thinking about guys out here right now, quarterbacks that deserve that type of money. First off, let's look at Jared Goff. Right?
Okay, so I'm saying like the guys. So I don't put Jared Goff as a top 5.
I get it, but we just talking about the money, right? And I get the market. It's the market. It sets it, right? The tone for it. But then
okay, Jay. Before you go there, what I'm saying as far as deserving, my deserving is top 5. So okay. I can't say Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, or Deshaun Watson don't deserve this amount of money for what they bring to your team. But does that mean that Jared Goff or Dak Prescott or some other guy that's big name quarterback that's out there, does he deserve that because his team made the playoff or because they had a decent season? Has he lived up to that status yet? I don't think so. But just because that contract is up,
right,
and that cap number for that position requires this type of a payment, then that's what they want to get.
Right. So somebody like Dak is better off, doing the what's the name it being I forgot the word now. But instead of him, getting the contract that he's looking for, he's getting the top 5. Dang, why can't I think of that name? Well, anyway, he's better off signing that 1-year deal every single year of the top 5.
The franchise.
Franchise. I'm daggone franchise. Right. Getting the franchise tag.
Chris Cousins.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so those guys are better off doing it that way because I can't see after you get at that conversation, like you said, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. Some of them guys, man, you start looking like, am I going to pay this guy $50 million a year? Come on now. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. I don't care who comes in. I can't see, paying a dude $50 million. Come on. Is he going to be worth that? Is Baker Mayfield, I'm going to say this, out of his production, is he worth $50 million? You can argue, I don't see $50 million for Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry. Don't see it. Sorry. Can't see it. But he's going to be asking it because that's the market, right? That's the market. So they're going to be like, hey, look, that's the market. Okay, well, guess what? And we'll talk about this because we talk about liability. At that point, look, hey, now you become expendable. Hey, they let you go then. Well, we don't need you. So teams, all of a sudden, phones don't ring anymore for $50 million. You know what I mean? So that's where I look at it. Sure.
What's my man's name on the podcast?
Marcus.
Marcus, to answer your question, man, listen, quarterback, it's the title, man. Quarterback gonna get theirs. The left tackle's gonna get theirs. The corner's gonna get theirs. It is what it is. They have a title, so it's not gonna change anything, man. They just gonna pay those people.
Okay, so you don't think, and I know this is what the owners are thinking. They're thinking about now. It's the same thing like when they had what's his name? They used to be the quarterback, Sam Bradford, with the rookie contract, and he was making all that money. All these owners said, like, look, man, we got to reset the market. We got to do this because now this thing is getting out of hand. It is. And so we want to pay more guys, but we can't keep paying this dude $50 million, you know, and the right tackle is making 25. Is this guy $25 million more dollars worth than everybody else? You know what I mean? And so I look at it like this. If somebody's making that much money, that means you're taking money away from somebody else, right? So if I'm like, some guys are deservingly so, like tight ends, I'll talk about my position. Our market is lower than everybody else's. You know what I mean? Because that's the way that, I guess, when teams will look at it, it was like, you know, is it that valuable? It's not that valuable. But you see guys, tight ends, that you know is valuable in the game. You know, who's setting things up. Huh?
Fullback is the least valuable.
Well, I mean, fullback, but I'm just saying tight ends during a time, they just weren't paying guys. They just wasn't, they weren't coming off that money. And so.
And the kicker.
And the kicker, right, and the kicker. But see, when you find at the bottom tier, see, for DBs, you know, y'all ain't worried about it. Y'all set the market. Y'all make big money, big bread.
Right.
Quarterbacks, cornerbacks, right tackles, defensive ends. You know what I mean? Then it's linebackers and so it goes down in tiers. So I see ours is kind of in the bottom tier than everybody else's. So,
well, Jason, you know how they're gonna do it, man. They gonna just backload. That's gonna be the way they get out of these huge contracts. Backload everything.
Right.
But we already know that with the NFL, it's all about that signing bonus. So when you get that big chunk of money, that other stuff is gonna we already know that's backloaded anyway. You know, whether you got a $500 million contract or a $5 million contract, even on a $5 million contract, it's gonna be backloaded.
Let me ask you this.
So get that Warfield contract, get $50,000 the first year. and backload it.
Well, I was gonna say this. You know, I was looking at on my deal. I was trying to get like some a cheeseburger, or maybe a steak dinner thrown in. Can I get some yard work done? You know, dude. So, but some guys, now it comes into like, would you take a guaranteed contract now, right, for less money, as opposed to them saying, okay, $500 million, you know, big signing bonus, but we can cut you after year, 3 or 4, right? They don't have to pay you all that money. Would you rather go through getting guaranteed contracts? See, how would you do it? Would you rather
take that? But that's the NFL though. It's mostly in the signing bonus either way. So yeah, I'm gonna take that guaranteed money no matter what.
Right. I'm just saying if we go into guaranteed contracts, over the term. So even if a guy gets hurt, it's like we still gonna get paid like the NBA.
True. And heck, I like the way that Deshaun Watson's done it. His was I think he's making right at 35, maybe close to what Patrick is making with his extension. But it's a short deal, so he can turn right back around and sign another one.
Right.
You know. The market's going to continue going up, and now Patrick is locked into. I mean, it's $500 million is $500 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna at some point somebody's gonna make more money than Patrick.
Yeah. If you look at the guys whose contracts are coming up, you got Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. All those guys can be, could be up there, close to that at least.
Yeah.
And then and Justin Herbert, in the way he played this year, I mean, if he could.
And I forgot all about Josh Allen. Josh Allen's good.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they'll sign him for a long-term deal, no doubt. Yeah, I give him $500 million, definitely.
Well, it's those franchises like you got the Browns, Chiefs, and Bills, teams that haven't had a quarterback in a very long time. They're gonna pay to keep that around.
Right. Yep. But hold on to him.
Well, there you go, Jason. I mean, maybe people. The top players might want to just start doing a 1-year deal.
Hey.
If you think about it, why not?
Right.
You might get hurt, though. That's the thing. If it wasn't for injuries, people be signing a 1-year deal.
Yeah. You become a real gunslinger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we only have a few questions. I know we're over an hour here, but the question that we did get from a YouTube commenter last week, they really wanted us to talk about this question, was where should the Chiefs place the need of a legit backup quarterback this offseason? I know Chad Henne came in, played well for us in that Browns game. But when the person commented on YouTube, it was a couple days before the Redskins cut Alex Smith, and the Chiefs Twitter was going nuts about the Chiefs bringing back Alex Smith to be Patrick Mahomes' backup. Now, what are your thoughts on the priority of a backup quarterback and Alex Smith potentially being our backup?
I think we need obviously we need a quarterback backup because you never know what you're going to get on a weekly basis as far as dealing with injuries. Now, it goes again into what we can afford as far as quality wise. Do we want just somebody with a name, or do we want somebody that's obviously talented to continue to move our offense down the field? But what can we afford as far as quality wise? I felt like Henne played his role well. He did things that we needed to do to get us through the game that he got us through. So
right.
If he's available, we can keep him. You keep him. If other teams want to try to take him, then that's his decision what he does with the market. But we definitely had to have somebody backup wise, and I think that under the tutor, like to play behind Patrick, to see his playmaking ability and how he studies. I think, and with the staff that we have, we're good enough to groom somebody to be able to step in that position, whether they're high quality or not. But again, it's like, what can we afford? And, what kind of cuts are going to happen next week?
Yeah, I think, having a quality backup quarterback is key. And, Henne almost, put us in a bad spot, but like you said, he was able to keep us, take us over the hump. I think Alex Smith being available, like you said, that's kind of like a dream for everybody to bring back, right? It's like the old Gladiator, bring it back into the stadium, so, kind of wearing all the war wounds and whatnot. And if he came in for Patrick, man, the stadium would just erupt, right? You could hear it, from everywhere, just, and so that would be the ideal thing because he's been in the system, he's been in the organization, the guys know him, the fans love him. And then, I've seen, as far as, speculating what he can do, not necessarily being the backup quarterback, but also too, maybe potentially becoming a coach on the team. So all those things are something that you had to look into as far as something like that. But yeah, having a quality backup is absolutely key. So yeah, I think that's.
They got one over there in San Francisco. I think he's lost his value, so we can go get Garoppolo.
Oh yeah, no, he's asking.
He's doing that on purpose because he's talking about my team.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Look, seriously though, like the Chiefs, see, that's why the salary cap is like the devil for the Chiefs right now because they do need a quarterback that, like you were saying earlier, the scouts.
Yeah.
You guys they're gonna need to be a scout to go out there and find somebody because they ain't not gonna have the money to pay somebody that's decent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's good. Some, even in the middle.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody that can, like what Phil was saying, manage their offense, their schemes or whatever.
Right.
So they're gonna need someone to go out there and do that because of their cap. They're not gonna be able to do that. They're not gonna be able to sign someone that's gonna really can make a difference.
Exactly. Right.
So it's gonna be tough. It's tough. And like I said, the scout. Somebody's gonna have to go out there and evaluate somebody that's gonna be perfect for the Chiefs, and he got to be a difference.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that's going to have to be it because, like, once again, it's the market, right? Guys going to ask for money because it's like, hey, this is what you guys are asking for. So I don't know if you can get Garoppolo out here. Maybe get him.
Everybody talking about these other teams want quarterback. Why they not saying the Chiefs don't want a quarterback in this draft? She might move on to grab somebody. Who knows?
Hey, look, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure they're thinking about something later down the road, finding somebody, develop. But that we're talking about that's long. That's long after way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You tell a guy to get in Kansas City. You tell him go ahead and get his coat and sit down and just take notes. Just sit back, take notes. You're gonna be here for a while on this bench. So
well, I think last year was one of the first years that Andy Reid didn't draft a quarterback in the draft. Usually every year he'll take a flyer on a guy like at least around 6 or 7 just to see what he can do. And last year was the first year that we didn't do that. So
he will this year.
Yeah, why not? What's the harm in drafting a 6th-round quarterback? Maybe he's worth something.
Right.
And he is the QB whisperer. So I mean,
That's what they say.
Yeah, he'll find somebody.
I mean, hey, he made AJ Feely and Kevin Cobb look pretty good.
Yeah.
Sure did. You ain't lying.
All right. Well, I guess that does it for the show. It was kind of a different kind of show. We had some guests popping in here.
Sorry, guys.
It was good,
awesome. Joe. Good seeing you, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, Dave.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Joe.
Yeah, you too.
And next week we'll be back at it again, and I think Jason might have some special guests for us next week. I don't know. We'll see.
We're working it out, baby. We're working it. We're gonna bring it through. So
we'll see some familiar faces.
But
as always, guys, tweet at us at Concerns Chief, and please subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Gentlemen, it's always a great show with you guys.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
All right, man. Y'all be good, man. Look, I see Joe done started on the yak already, man.
Already.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Yes, sir. Take it easy.
All right, now.